Yes, thank you very much. My name is Jesper Lohse, and I'm the chairman and been that for 12 years now for the Danish Father Association. It was founded in 1977, so it's one of the most experienced, one of the oldest probably, children of father organizations we have today. And we have counseling centers all around Denmark. So all fathers can come in and talk about the issues they have. That can be, of course, divorces, which is always the big issue. 60% at least is divorce cases, but also paternity leave, things like that. So every question there. We have about between 50 and 100 counselors, and we have, of course, we are involved in all of the legal reforms and things like that. We are the organization that has pushed most reforms through that.
Mm-hmm.
So my personal background is that I'm from the business environment, so I didn't know anything about this until 12 years ago. I was working for Microsoft, and one of the people that set up the Microsoft University, where we needed to train up a very large amount of people in new ways of doing things. I had my own company, but was a supplier for Microsoft at that stage. So I've been involved in learning all my life. I have a business degree in MBA and so on. Um, so how did I go into this field? I was a divorced father as anyone else, so it was of general interest, of course. But I've always been a shared parent. I had 6 months of paternity leave and have always been closely involved, both in traditional family life, but also after divorce. I was a fully shared parent all the time there. So I wanted to do some corporate social responsibility. That was what we should do 12 years ago. I took out one day of my business life and wanted to do some voluntary work. And at that stage, it was most obvious that I would do that for fathers because that was just a general interest I had. I was a new father myself. So after just 3 months, I think, working as a volunteer in the Danish Father Association, I have met so many fathers that stated the same type of problems independently. So I couldn't believe what I heard, but I've heard it so many times, and it was the same patterns. So already then I knew something was totally wrong in this field. We talk about gender equality for women, which most of us support. I think everyone support that, thinks it's a incredible thing that suddenly we can have women leaders and women have the same opportunities. But when we look into the family life, the family legislation, I very clearly found that was nothing had happened. We were still doing things like in the 19th centuries. So the Danish children law was from 1905, and it still applied in society, although it had been modernized and so on. So at that stage, it only took 3 to 6 months to find out that something was totally wrong in this field. And I took part in the first law reforms in 2012. We made a proposal for the law reform. I thought it was like a business plan. It was like more than 50 pages, and everyone else came in with 1 or 2 pages, all of these organizations. So I thought we had done a really good job. But 2 weeks later, the new law was already in place. So I realized that was the way the political system that I had no experience with at that stage was working. everything was agreed beforehand. So I sit down with a couple of guys, say we need to do this in a totally other way. And so many people are being hurt, so many children are being hurt here by us doing not what was in the best interest of the child, not in the best interest of society. It was simply gender discrimination. And that had very severe consequences for especially children and fathers, but even mothers were hurt by this because there was no respect uh, about the family court system.
One clarification, Jesper. So, at the time when you started to work for the Danish Fathers Association, were you already separated, or were you having, for example, no access to your children or limited access? What was the situation?
No, I've always been a shared father, so shared parenting, so I have never had that problem myself.
Mhm.
And that, I think that's
So
probably
you
important.
yourself, you have 50-50, or?
I have always been had 50-50 from the beginning.
Mhm.
I was divorced when my child was 1 year old, so I had 3 days split, and then we moved to 5 days, 5 days,
Mhm.
and then when our child was 3 years old, it was 7 days and 7 days. So
But through your work at the association, you discovered that this was not the case for a great number of fathers in Denmark,
a
right?
very great number of files, and I know the number today is that 16% of divorced children don't have any contact with one of their parents. So it's a major issue, and you have a large number of children who don't have shared parenting, although Sweden and Denmark is some of the countries, Norway is some of the countries that has the highest level of shared parenting. It is between 40 and 60% of parents or children that are living with shared parents as the norm. So most of us are using shared parenting. I've been used to that, so I knew there was no problem in that. I couldn't see the problem at all because I was living with that on a daily basis, and I just could see that it worked. Everyone was happy. Um, our child suddenly was more happy with having the love and care and identity of both parents. So I definitely knew that it was possible, and I knew also the importance of that. Um, so I could see all the benefits. And that was really the starting point for this. And then I saw so many conflicts, and I became chairman of the father organization. And I think what hits me most is, of course, all the children that lost contact to, especially the father, sometimes the mother, but definitely mainly the fathers, for no reason. Uh, of course, there was situation and cases where it was obvious there should not be a contact with the father or mother, but most of the cases, it was like 80-90% of the cases, there was no real reason. There was cases that where we could solve them, and we should solve them by having parents collaborating and a society thinking this in another way. So it has, and I think that's the problem all around Europe, internationally also. It's very easy to misuse the family court system, the family legislation, simply because of mainly gender discrimination, but also discrimination between residential, non-residential parents, and so on. And so the situation for me was that suddenly I was chairman. I saw these law reforms, how it was done. I was also sitting with fathers and children, fathers that committed suicide suddenly. I had never experienced that. So at some state, I said, well, I need to sit down and try to find out what's going on here. So I had the chance at that stage to do an MBA. And instead of looking at how many Teslas could we sell or whatever, I looked into the children's system and the family court system. So I gathered 700 children cases, divided them into categories, and simply did process analysis following the child through the Danish family court system. And that was a very simple exercise. And it was very clear that change of hands was the main problem, together with discrimination in family law. Because if you follow a child in a severe case, family court case, you probably all around the world or in Europe will find out that this child will maybe speak to 50 different adults in 10 different authorities or things like that. And they're not coordinated. The child will meet law in several ministries, national ministries. So it's pure luck if we succeed for this child. And I went to Parliament, to the Social Committee, the Gender the Equality Committee there, and I showed them this very simple process analysis of following children in the family court system. And I could explain to them that on basically one PowerPoint, look, there's no way we are going to succeed with this. It's pure luck if we get healthy children out on the other side. So by using these tools we normally would use in business life for other purposes, but on the children and the family court system, it was quite easy to explain. This is never going to work. We have to do law reforms. We have to take action on this in the best interest of the children and families and society. So that was really the starting point for all the law reforms that we have today, and I've been involved in also.
Wow, I understand that it's striking, when you were talking, how many similarities there are there with the situation in Belgium. You talk, for example, about 40 to 60% of children who are live in equal share custody, which means that at least 40% or more do not live in such arrangement.
Mhm.
And I guess you confirm in Denmark, like in Belgium, that this is mainly for the fathers. In our statistics, we found that it is about 82% of the cases where mothers have a main custody, which means more than 50%. Usually, it's what we call here the classic program, 1 weekend out of 2 for the father. And this can be maybe 3 days instead of just 2 days in that weekend, but usually it's around that, which is, of course, very little. Also, you talk about the suicides, and also we at the Centrum Moders we noticed that as well. Here we have some statistics about 70 fathers who are taking their lives or yearly because of problems with access to their children, and there is also a lot of violence between the ex-spouses because of this problem. I know also of cases of fathers who ran away with children or mothers who ran away with children. So are all these things which can, in my opinion, can be very easily solved with an equal share of custody.
Mhm.
But you mentioned that you had engaged with the I think with the Equality Ministry in Denmark. Was it difficult to fix up that meeting? How were you received? What were some of the results?
I think what we did, when we needed to create a strategy, we tried everything before that. We were founded in 1977, so we've done all the mistakes. And like I see that all around Europe, in the ICSP board, I'm a member there, or I've been there for 8 years, and the PASC organization. So I see all of the different countries, and we definitely in Denmark has done all the same mistakes. But what we did 12 years ago was that we said we need to put this out in the open. So we created a media strategy, and together with gender equality in society, the push from the Danish Father Organization, but the media strategy is definitely the one thing that has worked, I think. So every week for 12 years, I've been making a press release that has been sent to all parliament members, to all courts, to all public officials, to all national media, simply providing the stories that needs to be told about children, about mothers, about fathers, um, to make sure that everyone cannot deny that we have a major issue in society. And today I have no doubt that this is the main gender issue we have all around Europe today. There's nothing that is more important to solve than to make sure that there is equal rights in family law and family life. It's simply for the benefit and the best interests of children. So some of the things we found out was that um, going into looking also at violence, the National Children Commission asked children in public schools who is more violent, the father or mother, and actually they found out that the mother today was more violent than fathers. That was the statement randomly by randomly selected children. We found out that looking into follow the money, we found out that government money for 20 years, there was more than 300 secret funds. It was 5.8 billion Danish kroners per year that was in secret funds that was mainly provided to women organizations and projects. And at the same time, the father did not get anything. So it was very clear that everything about children, everything about gender equality, for natural reason, 100 years ago, we needed to make sure that the women were safe. They could get out of the with divorces from violent marriages and so on. But today, the society is totally different. So looking at the qualitative data, asking children, we today have the same situation for men and women. So we do need to make sure that the law is gender equal. We don't want to discriminate on gender or family forms, and that is in the best interest of the child. So you could say it's all about the UN Children Convention. Article 3 is stating we always need to do what is in the best interest of the child. But Article 2 is what everyone forgets and ignore. Article 2 states that we are not allowed to discriminate children or children's parents based on gender, based on race, based on sexual or political orientation, but also other forms, which could be the family form. And that is what we are doing. That is clearly what is happening in family law and in the family cases. And then if you discriminate and don't fulfill the UN Children Convention Article 2, you cannot state that you are just doing what Article 3 is stating.
I'm just curious a little bit about the reaction of the authorities, because you mentioned you sent these press releases. You also had this meeting where you presented your analysis. What was the reaction? Did things change after these meetings or after you interacted with them? Did they recognize the situation?
Nothing changes by itself. For the first year, nothing happened when we sent out press releases. But after a year, media started to use the press releases because there was a lot of stories to be told. Everyone knew there was some sort of issue with all these fathers and children, not sure what it was. So suddenly we did see more article, more press releases. We even saw television shows and all these types of things, which is some of it was pushed by society, some of it was definitely pushed by these press release and media strategy putting it out there. Because if things are as wrong as it is, and it is all around Europe, uh, for children, for fathers, for families, for mothers, um, simply because we we are living in a shared parenting world, but with single parenting law, and that is the key problem here. And that's the old way of thinking it, and we need to modernize that. That's what the Council of Europe Resolution 2079 is stating, that on equality, which is very important, it states 10 items that we need to correct in society, in national law. And I think Denmark is one of the countries that are ahead on that. And then you ask, did the politicians, did the ministry do it by themselves? No. As a politicians, the only thing important for politicians is political votes. So if there's no political votes, you will not get politicians to change this. So that's why it's important to put the stories out there so everyone can see it, create television shows, create television programs, articles, research, and so on. And suddenly things starts to happen, and the ministries suddenly start to progress, and you will suddenly see the reforms. I think I do think that's the difference between Denmark and even Sweden and Norway, Belgium, which is normally far ahead also, but you lack these reforms that are so important. And that is about political votes. It's about ministries doing their job, because ministries need to tell politicians, look, we are violating the UN Children Convention, the European Human Rights Convention here. It's very clear that is happening right now, and it is their responsibility to act on that.
If I can just make 2 points based on what you said, the first would be that at least in Belgium, the politicians are usually hiding behind the separation of powers. So if you write, for example, to the Ministry of Justice or another Ministry for Equality, they will say, well, we have our hands tied because there is separation of powers between the judicial and the executive. So
Mm.
I wonder, what are your thoughts about that?
You have to push it, and the only thing that has worked is media strategy, to get the public to talk about these things. And then suddenly you will also get ministries, they cannot hide, the politicians cannot hide, and suddenly you will have some politicians saying, oh, all these article has been in the news, so now I might get elected if I do something about this. And they start asking questions to ministries, pushing ministries to confront this. And then we are in a situation where we have made a lot of reforms, I think, that way, but also has got a lot of symbolic new legislation. We have there's been a lot of things, but even parental leave is 50-50 today in Denmark. But if you are divorced father, you might not get anything. Um, we have got shared information by law should be sent to both parents. We have shared custody, both physical and by legal, by law. We have child support that has been divided for both parents. But some of these issues can be denied if you are divorced. And that's clearly a discrimination of family forms that you cannot allow when 30 to 50% of children are living in divorced family, then of course the law should apply like in traditional families as the basic assumption. So politician, we have a lot of reforms. We have a lot of good reforms. We recently had the gender equal crisis centers. So men and women now get the same support in Denmark. We have the law on parental alienation, which is treated as psychological violence. Actually, we can talk about parental alienation in Denmark. It's something very, very common. So all of these things has happened, but still the one thing they're keeping is that they're keeping the residential, non-residential parent if you're divorced, and they are keeping that most of the welfare benefit for children are based on the residential parent. And that is the key problem. You cannot do that. You're not allowed, from my opinion, you're definitely not allowed to do that because most parents are great. So let us make sure that all parents are treated equal, and let's base it not on gender, but on competences, on behavior. And I'm fine with more mothers having more to do with children and more fathers are still in the boards in corporate board. If that's the case, if that's what society wants, I'm not going to state whatever people should do. But it's very important that when we have a opportunity in society, that we treat people equal, because we are not able to do what is in the best interest of children if we cannot award good behavior and award competences, but you can cheat the system, get benefits just because of your gender.
I fully agree with what you said and what you presented and your views about the fact that there should be more equality in our society. I just want to ask you and share with you some research I know of, mainly the work of PhD Linda Nielsen and the study, the Warsaw Consensus study. Maybe you're aware, but just to mention
Yeah,
that
I know.
Linda Nielsen, she did a meta-analysis of more than 100,000 children, which for me it's incredible. More than 50 studies, I think she analyzed, and the great majority of those children who were in shared equal custody had better results for all criteria, such as psychological, physical education, results at school, etc., etc. In terms of if they were in a shared equal custody with their parents, or if they were not, if they were mainly with one parent. So the kids had better results. So I would say even it doesn't matter so much what the parents want, but it's 50-50 should be more the norm because it's the best for children, and parents should be following this because it's best for their children. And the same
Absolutely.
for a study Warsaw, who is a consensus of about 100 scientists from all the top universities, and they arrived to similar conclusions. Just to mention, because there is also one study of I think Bowlby from 1950s, which kind of recommended this in 1950s, that there is this gender years doctrine, so where there is a main attachment figure. But these scientists know this latest research actually refuted those findings, and in the end, also I understand that Bowlby himself, he also took back his findings. So I just want to ask if you used this research, if and what were the reactions from politicians, from judges?
Yeah. I think it's very important. I think we have to go beyond the research because the research is very clear. as you have mentioned, the Warsaw Report, 110 international children experts are stating this is the best. We have Linda Nielsen's work, who's comparing a lot of different stories, one of the best comparisons. We have Karolinska Institute in Sweden, which has looked into all 200,000 children between 12 and 15 years old, and they have divided it into family form, and it's very clear that the children that are living together with both parents or in 50-50 has much lesser stress. They have less social sickness, health issues, less medicine when they become teenagers, compared to children living mainly with one parent or only with one parent. So you have a lot of these things in 5-6 states in the US. You have by law secured 50-50 now, many years ago. And you can look at states like Arizona, Kentucky, West Virginia, and it's very clear that there's a much larger degree of respect. There's a much larger satisfaction, both in court, in public workers, by lawyers, by parents, by children, by using these models. So the Council of Europe Resolution 2079 that was created in 2015, you just need to follow that for national law. And there will be, some will try to stop this because it's a major change in society, but there's absolutely no reason for doing that. This is also for the benefit of women. The Warsaw Report states that mothers will actually have less stress by having the assistance of the father. And we know also from Linda Jensen's studies and many other studies that positive father involvement is just a good thing to do. It's the best investment we can give children, that children love and care by both their parents. That's where they have their identity. That's how we get happy children and healthy children. So it's definitely something that we should use in national law as the basic assumption. And then I think everyone involved in this is also have fully understand that when we have a serious case, that can be a father, it can be a mother. Of course, we need to have a system that handle these cases in the best way. But I think one of the really stupid thing is that mothers don't benefit from this system today, because you have so many women that also get stress from this, and we cannot even find the right violence situation, because everyone is just experienced violence and things like that, and that's not the case. So we need to do this in another way, and there's no question about whether it should be a gender equal family law, and then we should work from that. That's how we can secure the best interest of the child.
You mentioned that there is no benefit for mothers, but I don't know exactly the situation in Denmark. I can tell you that there are some monetary benefits. In Belgium, there are 93% of mothers who receive alimony from fathers. Usually, the fathers who pay alimony for sometimes for years and years, this is mainly because there is an unequal program, but sometimes even in cases where there is an equal program, also fathers pay alimony, which it's a strong incentive for mothers to oppose to the equal share parenting. But now maybe we can move a little bit more to the legal work you have done, because if I understood correctly from one of your posts, you have sued the Prime Minister of Denmark and the Ministry of Equality because they sent you a letter where they didn't recognize the fact that
Uh,
there is discrimination?
yeah. It's not the Gender Equality Ministry, but we have the Danish Father Association and me as a legal representative, as a chairman. So you need to have a legal representative. Has taken the Danish state to court. And there's two different parties involved in that. That's the social ministry, which is the resort ministry, primary ministry for the family law. But because the law is in 7, 8 different ministries, we have taken also the Prime Minister's office to court. So right now it's discussed whether who should be involved in this. Can we sue the Danish state and things like that? And it was started 3 years ago. So it has been all through the system once and starting now again. It started in civil court and then went to high court, to the Supreme Court, and to the Human Rights Court. And everyone, that was just for discussing who should be suing who here. Who are we able to sue? Is this possible or not? And just on Monday, we had the first, after 3 years, we actually had the first day in court, where we have 7 hours in court with lawyers, and I presented also the case from a gender perspective and from a child perspective. Was speaking there for 1 hour. So now it started, but of course there's all types of legal technicalities that need to be solved first, and this should be easy. But yes, it's the largest human rights case that has been. I have not heard of anyone that is this big. And it's based on that we, in many years ago, sit down and looked into the law, and we found 345 specific items in law in 12 different themes, where we said we do not treat parents equal. And because of that, one parent could cheat the system, and we don't do what is in the best interest of the child. So we actually found 345 specific items in Danish law. And what we have done is that we have taken 25 of the primary issues. And the primary issue is, are you allowed in today's modern society to have a residential, non-residential parent? And are you allowed to have spousal support or benefits based on the residential parent? So that is the primary issue in this. So 25 specific items the court needs to decide on that. And that's going on right now.
But just some technicalities. So, because we're really interested as a fathers association in Belgium. So, the person or the entity that sued was the Danish association, or were individuals, fathers like yourself and others, who sued the state?
What we are trying to do is, because we realize that no father are able to sue the state, as it will take too many years. They are trying to protect their children. They can't afford, they don't have time, they don't have energy. So no fathers are able to do this by themselves. We saw they tried to do it in Norway. They tried to take, let's take 10 fathers and go to court. They went to Supreme Court and they decided that, these cases need to be handled one by one. So we have done it in another way. We are stating that this is not possible for individual fathers to take a government to court. It's too big an issue. So therefore, we have asked the court that the Danish Father Association are able to run the case, no matter who is there. But we have also stated that I will be the legal representative if an association is not allowed to sue the state. Then I will, as a chairman, we have asked that I can, as a chairman, stand up for all fathers and say, I'm just another father in Denmark, so the law also apply for me. And therefore, we try to do it that way. And because I don't have lost contract and all this, so I know that shared parenting works. I've never experienced anything else. So therefore, it would be a better way to do this case principle.
And
So
you
we
had
had a
like some,
call.
you had like some sort of proxy or power of attorney from various fathers towards you to do that, or it was
No,
just based on the Danish Fathers Association?
it's the Danish Father Association. It's me as a professional representative, as a chairman,
Yeah.
and I have legal responsibility. I have counseling. I'm appointed by the social minister for the advisory board on the family courthouses. Just as one example, I have legal responsibility, counseling responsibility for our counselors. So I have a professional responsibility that this works. And what we did is that we took the specific law and saying this law is not gender equal. It discriminates either on residential, non-residential parents. There's three ways that the law discriminates. It discriminates on family forms. Are you living together, not living together? It discriminates on residential, non-residential parents, and it discriminates on fathers and mothers. So we simply have listed specific items in law and saying this law does not apply, is in violation of the Human Rights Convention, of the Children Convention, of the European Charter, even the Danish gender equality law, because we are not able to do law like this. So we try to wait with all the 100,000 fathers, simply to keep it simple. And we have sit down and we have found specific parts in the law. Everyone can do that. It took us one Saturday just to find all the specific parts that does not simply violates the Human Rights Treaty and everything else we have in society and believe in the society. And I actually have the case here. You can see it here.
Oh my God, that's a big one.
So this is a
Wow,
court case, but we had
there's a lot.
a very good court meeting, and
But why did it took 3 years? And so if I understand correctly, you went already to the human rights. Is this in this particular case that you talked about?
yes,
And
it's
if I
the same
understand
case.
correctly, you came back to the first Danish instance?
Yes, and that's because as of in cases like this, you will have a discussion of one thing, and you will one of the parties will definitely go to higher court. So we initially started it in civil court, and the civil court made the first verdict that this was a principal case. It should not be in the civil court. It should go directly to the higher court. And then the higher court got it, and they said, well, we would like to have the Supreme Court decision on this. We don't really agree, and blah, blah, blah. We think it was because they knew it was going to Supreme Court, so let's go there right away. And so they denied it, and the Supreme Court then had to decide, and they also say, well, we needed to start in civil court so we can see how it's handled. So we haven't even discussed the case yet. It was just who should actually take a case like this. And of course,
It's a
we
hot
then
potato.
tried to go to the Human Rights Court. We said, look, I've been working with this for 12 years now, and we have been 3 years underway. Is that reasonable time? So we tried to go to the Human Rights Court and say, look, you need to take over this case. Please help us. Won't you please, because it will end at your desk anyway, at your court. And there's several verdicts already that respect of family life by the Human Rights Court needs to be both parents and the child consideration. So we try to do that, and everyone said after 3 years, and we knew that it could happen, but we need to start in civil court and make sure that we handle all aspects of this case. So that was why it took 3 years. And that's, of course, crazy and everything like that. But that's also why individual fathers don't really have a chance to do cases like this, even though the government would like it to be like that, because then they know that the fathers are not able to do it.
And from an organizational aspect, did you manage to get any public funding, either for your association or in general for the Fathers Association?
We have members and we have fundraising, but still, like all other organizations, we don't have a lot of money, but we probably have more money than some other organizations. So we have members and we have funding also in other types, but we are not, of course, allowed to do state funding. We get a little bit from the state, and we're not allowed to use that for a case like this. That's earmarked for other things.
Okay.
But the members are right now paying it, and we have a legal team, lawyers that also provide a lot of free services. And we have stated to them, we have this budget. It cannot be more than that. And they, of course, are doing it much cheaper than a normal case would be in that. We asked for free proceedings, which you can get in principal cases. And even though this is the most principal case you've ever had, it's the largest, it's the only one we have been running on this topic. Currently, the government has not allowed us free proceedings, so we are right now. That's also been handled, of course. So that's
Wow.
also a funny story in all this, I think.
Wow, 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 wow. Well, I mean, as a father, from a father to a father, and from a civil activist to another, I can only say thank you in the name of the children all around Europe that are from divorced or separated parents. I think the work that you are doing is amazing. It's something that needs to be done. It's something urgent. It should have been done years ago, but for some reason it is not happening. So thank you wholeheartedly for what you are doing, and I'm sure it's going to impact the lives of children not only in Denmark but all around Europe. I do agree with your earlier statement that the situation in America is more advanced, I would say. There are some states, like you mentioned, that are already on a presumption of 50-50, which is not fully the case in Europe. As you were also talking about the 345 items from law, I can immediately relate to the situation in Belgium. Just to give one example, there is an article which says that indeed there is a presumption for 50-50 for equal share parenting, and it is a parent who opposes who should demonstrate that it is not good. But they also have two phrases down. But the judge can fix a non-equal, they actually say non-equal residence if he or she thinks so, which is, like you said, is against the UN Convention for Children, against the Convention for Human Rights, articles for equality, but also on the Belgium Constitution, Article 10, equality between citizens, and also there is an article for equality between spouses. So indeed, this is not happening. I just have another technical question about the position of the Constitutional Court in Denmark, because it is usually they who have to check the legality of laws, if they are constitutional or not. Because usually these things like equality, they are also constitutional rights. So do you think of involving them? Is there anything foreseen for them for the Constitutional Court?
Mhm. Also, we have one court system, but of course we can go to the European Commission and things like that. So we definitely have more ways to do this. We need to be respectful of the legal system, and we need to do this. The government don't want to change it by themselves, although we have seen more reforms in Denmark than probably in most other countries. And you say the difference between the Nordic countries and maybe even Belgium and the US is that the US actually are further ahead on the law in some of the states. But of course, in the Nordic region, maybe also Belgium, beginning to see that around Europe, is that the gender equality in society is much more advanced. So that's the benefit we have. People are living by these norms. The law just don't follow. We are living in a shared parenting world with single parenting law, and that doesn't work. It's not in the best interest of the children. So all around Europe, we need to make these shared parenting reforms. No question about it will happen. It's just a question about time, and we should do that as soon as possible because it works.
Yes, yes. One thing that we are thinking of right now, and we just began to work, but we're thinking to build a coalition. We call it ABC, an Alliance for Belgium Children. And as part of this alliance, we hope to get as many people and as many parties to sign a memorandum of understanding of that will comprise presumably many of the things that we discussed today about to promote equal share parenting, to talk about the benefits, to to make sure that people are supportive of that. And if at some point you will maybe be invited to be part of such a discussion or conference, I hope that you will be willing and available. Also, I want to mention that we also engaged with politicians, and at least in the Belgian Parliament, you can put a petition. And we put a petition about equal share parenting and which parts of the law that we have identified, like this Article 374, that is, like you mentioned, still keeping some non-equal and discriminatory remarks.
Yeah.
Now,
But just remember that there's a
yeah,
lot of good research, there's a lot of good petitions, but you need to change public opinion. And the only way
yes,
to do that is media strategy, social media, things like that. That is what we have tried everything, and that is
yes,
the only thing that works.
yes,
That's how we will get change.
I fully agree. Maybe just to clarify, how did you actually do it? So basically, you sent email to all the politicians and the judges that and media outlets that you identify. Is that
Yes,
like, and you did it
it's
on a weekly or monthly basis?
all parliament members, all media, all courts, all local governments, all public officials, all members, and that was in the public of interest. And so this is so important. People are being heard every day, so you are allowed to do that. It is in the public interest, and they have to be made responsible. The people that are not doing their job right now, they do need to be confronted with that, and with stories again and again and again. You need to act on this. You need to change this. And that's the same situation in most Western world countries, definitely around Europe. Some countries are further ahead, and we are starting to see a lot of progress, but we need to tell all the good stories, all the positive stories of this. This is the benefit for children, it's the benefit for mothers, it's the benefit for fathers. So come on, let's just change this and make it modern.